Hello guys. Welcome back to my channel, Writing Practices. Today, we are going to learn how to write a non-disclosure agreement letter, or NDA letter. What is a non-disclosure agreement? A non-disclosure agreement, or NDA, is a legal contract between two or more parties that outlines the confidentiality of shared information. The purpose of an NDA is to protect sensitive, proprietary, or confidential information from being disclosed to unauthorized third parties. NDAs are commonly used in business settings when parties are discussing potential partnerships, mergers, investments, or any situation where private information, such as trade secrets, business strategies, or financial details, might be exchanged. The agreement typically specifies what information must be kept confidential, the obligations of the receiving party, the duration of the confidentiality obligation, and the consequences of violating the agreement. Here, Writing Practices will show you how to write an NDA letter step by step. Check this out. First of all, you need to write the letterhead. Every company must have their own official letterhead, so you can just use it. This section includes the sender's or disclosing party's company name, address, email, and phone number. It sets the formal tone of the letter, and provides the necessary contact information. Under it, you can write the date of the letter. And then, write the recipient information. Here, you can list the name and address of the recipient or the receiving party. It must clearly identify who the agreement is directed to. After that, you can continue by writing the subject line. This one needs to clearly state the subject of the letter. Yes, in this case is the non-disclosure agreement, or NDA. This is important for clarity and record keeping. After completing all the information, now you can open the letter with a formal salutation. Simply, you may write, "Dear," followed by the name of the recipient. In the first paragraph, which is an introduction or opening paragraph, you need to introduce the purpose of the letter. Yes, the goal of this letter is to serve as a mutual NDA between the parties. Here, it should be identifying the parties involved, which are disclosing party and receiving party. When you do so, don't forget to also write the effective date of the agreement. For example, you can write something like, "This letter serves as a mutual non-disclosure agreement, or NDA, between Tech Innovations Inc., hereinafter referred to as the disclosing party, and Sarah Thompson, hereinafter referred to as the receiving party. Effective as of January 25, 2025. Besides, this paragraph also briefly mentions the reason for the disclosure of confidential information. For example, the purpose is to explore a potential business partnership. And if you have the same goal, you may copy this. The purpose of this agreement is to protect the confidentiality of certain proprietary information and trade secrets that may be disclosed between the parties for the purpose of exploring a potential business partnership in technology development." Sure, you can adjust it based on your need. In the second paragraph, you will have to write some points of the agreement. In this letter, the agreement has 5 points, with some sub-points. Let's check this out. The first point is about definition of confidential information. Here, you can define what constitutes confidential information under the agreement. Of course, this is a critical section, because it clarifies the scope of what is protected under the NDA. And you can write something like, 1. Definition of confidential information. Confidential information includes, but is not limited to technical data, trade secrets, business strategies, financial information, and other proprietary information, disclosed by either party, in written, oral, electronic, or other forms. In the second point, it is about obligations of the receiving party. Here, you need to outline the responsibilities of the receiving party regarding the handling, use, and protection of the confidential information. Yes, this section is essential, as it details the expected behavior and legal obligations of the receiving party. This section has 3 sub-points, and here is how you write them. 2. Obligations of the receiving party. Point A. The receiving party agrees to maintain the confidentiality of the confidential information, and not to disclose it to any third party, without the prior written consent of the disclosing party. Point B. The receiving party agrees to use the confidential information solely for the purpose described herein, and not for any other purpose. Point circa. The receiving party shall take all reasonable steps to protect the confidential information from unauthorized use or disclosure. In the third point, it will be about exclusions from confidential information. In this case, you need to list the exceptions to what is considered confidential information. Yes, this ensures that the receiving party is not held responsible for keeping certain types of information confidential, such as information already public or independently developed. The third point here has 4 subpoints. And this is how you write them. 3. Exclusions from confidential information. Information shall not be considered confidential if it, point A, is or becomes publicly known, through no fault of the receiving party. Point B, is already known by the receiving party, prior to disclosure by the disclosing party. Point circa, is received from a third party, without breach of any obligation of confidentiality. Point D, is independently developed by the receiving party, without the use of confidential information. In the fourth point, it is about term. Here, you need to specify the duration for which the confidentiality obligations will remain in effect. Of course, this is important for setting a time limit on the confidentiality requirement. And this is how you write it. 4. Term. The obligations of confidentiality shall remain in effect for a period of 5 years from the date of disclosure of the confidential information. Since you have attached the date in the heading of the letter, you no longer need to rewrite it. In the fifth point, the last, you can talk about the return of confidential information. The purpose here is to explain what the receiving party must do with the confidential information once the agreement ends or upon request. Yes, this ensures that the confidential information is not retained or misused after the agreement is terminated. If you have no idea what to write, you may simply copy this. 5. Return of confidential information. Upon termination of this agreement, or upon the disclosing party's request, the receiving party shall return or destroy all copies of the confidential information. In the third paragraph, this is where you write about the entire agreement clause. In this section, you need to state that this document constitutes the entire agreement between the parties regarding confidentiality, superseding any previous agreements. Besides, it also indicates that any changes to the agreement must be made in writing. Of course, this is important for legal clarity and completeness. And here is how you write it. This agreement constitutes the entire understanding between the parties regarding the subject matter herein, and supersedes all prior agreements, whether written or oral. This agreement may be amended only by written consent from both parties. In the last paragraph, it is about acknowledgement and signature. It provides spaces for both parties to sign the agreement, signifying that they have read, understood, and agreed to the terms. It is obviously because the signatures make the agreement legally binding. And before that, you may write it this way. By signing below, both parties acknowledge that they have read, understood, and agree to the terms of this non-disclosure agreement. And for the closing, ends the letter politely and formally. Write the sender's name, title, and signature. After that, write also the acknowledgement section for the recipient's signature and the date. And this how you finalize the agreement. So, that's how you write a non-disclosure agreement letter step by step. I hope you find this video easy to understand and beneficial. Thank you for watching, and see you soon.